Welcome to Foster Tales. This is our second edition. I am Cara Ochterberg with Who Will Let the Dogs Out, and we are showcasing some of the amazing people who foster dogs and save lives all over this country. And today I have with me Karen Asp, and you are on the East Coast somewhere, right?
Yep, I'm in Indiana, Kira.
Oh, you're Indiana. You're not on the East Coast. You're in
Well,
the middle.
not East Coast, but we're Eastern time.
Okay.
So
Oh, wow. I didn't know Indiana was Eastern time. Wow. Okay. So Karen, tell everybody what you do. You foster a little uniquely. So talk a little bit about what you foster, who you foster for. Can you do that?
thanks, Kira, and thanks for listening, everybody. So I volunteer with two organizations. One, well, several, but two in particular. One is my local shelter, Humane Fort Wayne, and that shelter is where I fostered my first foster through. And I had my first foster for 15 months, a paralyzed pity girl who came
Wow.
up from a transport on a transport from Mississippi. But so I fostered her, and I still do volunteer a lot of volunteer work with Humane Fort Wayne, and we'll do a doggy day out, those types of things. But I've also, Kara, since for over a year and a half or over a year now, been very involved with a golden retriever rescue organization here in Indiana. And it's GRRACE, so it's Grace, and it is focused entirely on rescuing golden retrievers or golden mixes.
Mm-hmm.
And I became involved with them when I started first fostering a golden lab mix who is 8 years old now. He came to us as a pulled from a shelter in northern Indiana, and I started fostering him without even thinking we were going to adopt him. But Kara, came with some really high anxiety issues, and really to move him to a different home, to find a different home for him. My husband and I, first of all, we loved him, but secondly, we didn't want to send him out into the world. And so ever since him, I've been fostering through Grace. We are a foster only organization, and I now have stepped into the role. So I also have fostered several more dogs, a puppy whom I adopted in October because I didn't think I'd ever have a puppy again. So I thought, sure, I'll foster a puppy because that'll be easy to say goodbye to. But anyway, so she's with me now too, but I still foster for Grace. And I also serve as a foster rep, Cara. So with our organization, we have it so that every foster gets a quote unquote foster rep, and we're basically a guide just to answer questions, to make sure that all paperwork is being filed, to make sure that medications are being sent into the right place, to make sure that vet appointments are being taken care of. It's really kind of a whole situation. And right now I have not only my two foster wins, but I also have a temporary foster who is in foster care with Grace, but his family is on vacation, and so they needed somebody within our organization to foster for him. So I am fostering him now.
So you just touched on two really cool things. There are a bunch of things I want to go back to, but
Okay.
um, so one of the things people are anxious about with fostering is, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this. And so your organization, I've heard them called mentors. Yours are foster reps. So that person guides and helps. And I think most rescues have some form of this. And I think that is something that we really should stress, because people worry they're going to be all alone with this dog
Right.
that they've never met before. But really, you're not alone. You have a support, because you're also currently babysitting for another foster. That's something that I experienced in my foster community too. When I went away, my foster went to a different foster temporarily so that they could do what they need to do. So there's a lot of support within the organization. It sounds like Grace has that very much so, right?
Oh, Kara, it's a whole, I mean, again, you have said this many times, I think too, but it takes a village,
Mhm.
really to rescue all of these dogs. And for all of these organizations, I mean, Grace is set up to be that. We have a whole support team so that you are never ever alone. And if you have an issue, if there is an issue that comes up, we've had to move fosters because, let's say, maybe the foster didn't like the cat, or
Right.
the foster didn't like the other dog. It wound up not being a really good fit. So there is support. I mean, we have full support all the way around. So yeah.
And that's an important question too. When people start to foster, when you start to foster with an organization, ask those questions. What happens if? Does it
Right.
fit? What happens if I have to go away? So to know that going in, like we just said, like Karen and my, both of our experiences have been that we've been with organizations that have that support structure already set up. But some of the newer organizations may not, and so you want to make sure you're clear going in that the support network is in place. Most often it is. And when you foster for a shelter, that's naturally there because you have a shelter staff, you have a shelter
Right.
building. So that's
Yes.
naturally there. But when you're fostering for a rescue organization, it's important to ask those. Speaking of rescue organizations, you also touched on something that I wanted to pull out because you foster for a breed specific rescue. And a lot of people think, when they're getting a rescue dog or whatever, it's just any kind of dog. It's whatever mixed dog. But if there is a breed that someone loves and thinks is amazing, there's probably a rescue organization out there for that. So how did you end up? So you love Goldens or just found this rescue, or how'd you end up in the Golden Rescue?
Cara, my husband and I love Goldens. And,
Okay.
I think that is my foster toy. And Ellie, let me see if I can just give her a toy real quick. Got a little chocolate chip toy here that she
That's a
loves.
big
It's not a chocolate chip, it's just a fluffy, soft.
giant.
Anyway, Cara, so my husband and I love Goldens. And, a lot of people, there are so many, you're right, there are so many breed specific rescues. And a lot of people are really surprised to hear, for instance, that Goldens need to be rescued, right? But turns out we are getting a lot of what we call owner surrenders. So people who just can't take care of a dog for whatever reason. Let me maybe let her out and I'll keep my other foster in. Maybe, can't take care of the dog. Actually, I'll bring her down here. Can't take care of the dog, but we're getting also a lot from Amish breeders or commercial. Yeah. So a lot of puppy mills are coming in our way. But Cara, yeah, so we started, really loving working with golden retrievers. And so we got associated, my husband and I, and me in particular, got associated with this rescue for golden retrievers. And it's been fantastic. So for me, it's great, Cara, because again, I get to, focus on a breed. Again, we have, golden doodles, we've got golden labs, it's a mix. It's not just pure golden. Right. But then for me, the other side of it is at the shelter, I get to work with all all breeds, all dogs, so many different variants. So for me, it's a great combination. But yes, if you're interested in fostering a specific type of dog, there are so many breed specific rescues out there.
Yeah, I have a friend who fosters for a pug rescue. It's national. So whenever one comes up in our area, somewhere near here, she can take that in. And pugs, I was the same thing, like, why would pugs need to be rescued? But pugs have a lot of health issues. Yes. And that's a lot of what she does is take in dogs that have some severe health issues. And people get into different breeds, doesn't matter. Border Collie's another one. Aussies. There's a lot of breed-specific rescues for dogs that need a certain kind of home, and people don't, they're really cute and they have great reputation, and people don't realize. And when we're in the shelters, we see them all the time. I see golden mixes, and I see this last tour, I feel like we saw so many shepherds and huskies and Belgian Malinois. A lot of these bigger dogs that are really cute, fluffy little puppies, and then they get big, and so the shelter gets full of these 1 to 2 year old, often purebred dogs. So if that's something you're interested in, breed specific rescue, look it up, Google it. Whenever someone reaches out to me and is like, I really want to get a whatever Shih Tzu, whatever it is they want, I'll be like, Google breed, whatever this breed is, rescue. You'll find it. It's somewhere. You might have to be patient. You might have to travel a little bit, but you can rescue a purebred dog. You do not have to buy one. So that's Cara, kind of important.
That's a misnomer. Yeah, that a lot of people are like, well, I have to go to the breeder specifically. And you're like, no, go to a rescue group. So
yeah, and you just never know. I want to ask you just a couple more questions before we wrap this up, but what's the hardest part for you? Because I want us to be really honest in these things to tell people that are considering getting into fostering What's hard about this?
Cara, I think that you're going to hear the same thing from every foster, but I could be wrong. So I speak only for myself, but I will say that this is a very common thing. It is very difficult at times to let go. And the goodbye is very bittersweet, right? Because you're very excited that you have found this fantastic home, hopefully, for a dog you've been caring for however many weeks, months, whatever it might be. But it's also kind of a grief because you're missing, it's a loss for you because you no longer have that little companion by your side in your house who was a family member for that time that he or she was in your house. And Cara, I point to, the first foster I had, really what I call my heart foster. She was a 15-month-old, as I said, or she was here for 15 months. She was a 4-year-old pity mix who was paralyzed. She came from a shelter in Mississippi with a wheelchair. But during that 15 months, Cara, like her health was not so good to start. I had to learn how to, diaper her, how to manually poop her. So she, has to be pooped twice a day. How to do leg exercises with her so she would keep her strength. To say that I became attached to this girl is an understatement. And after 15 months, we talked very seriously about adopting her, but she wanted to eat my cat. And it was not a good fit. So we couldn't, we kept them separated and only occasionally, so it was a weird thing for 15 months to have two animals try to coexist. But anyway, we found a fantastic home for her. She's actually with a woman who uses a wheelchair as well, but is not confined to it. It's the most beautiful story. But Cara, I have to say that the minute I said goodbye to Macy, I took her there. I knew we had a whole weekend of fun events, celebrations, etc., and I knew what was coming, and I did not know how I was going to get through it, and I was wrecked. I mean, probably that day I could do nothing but heave, cry. And again, it's a very odd thing, right? Because you're supposed to be so excited, but you're also really, really sad because it hurts. But again, that, you get over it. That lasted for a little while where I would just lie on my couch and just cry and cry. And you have to give yourself permission to do that because you've done such a wonderful thing for this animal. But you have to realize it's also part of you. I think that, Cara, is the hardest part for me. And so, what I say though is I look at it as you have to frame it though as you're getting such a rewarding experience. Once you get over that hard part of crying and missing and things like that, it's so incredibly rewarding. And Cara, I'm still actually in contact. So I see Macy, she's now Juno, but I see her every 3 to 4 weeks. And she and her mom and I text each other back and forth, and we'll trade photos. So yeah.
It's nice when they stay in touch. You touched on the idea that it is hard and it can be hard. And there's a lot of people, there's a really great quote, and I will totally mash it up, but about how we have to break our hearts a little bit so that theirs will never be broken again. And I think
Yeah.
that's so true. And I don't know about you, but like when I let one go, when I'm hurting like that, the one thing that fixes it is just go get another foster. And then you're wrapped up in a new life and saving this new life. And I definitely feel like there are certain dogs where it is really hard, and there are certain dogs where it is
Yeah.
not really hard at all. And then, and as you do it more and more, it gets easier, but you have to keep saying that. Like you get so much more. That's the piece that you have to sacrifice, but you get so much more. Also,
Right.
when you have a dog, as long as you had 15 months, I had Gayla, I feel like close to that. I guess just over a year. I don't remember how long we had her, but it is harder. She was
Yeah.
one that was very hard. Flannery, another one I had over a year. It was just, I still miss her. I still miss
Yeah.
her. I know she has a great life. Her dad
Right.
sends me pictures. I know she's doing fine. So, it's counterbalanced, but it is a hard piece, and people, need to know that going in. Um,
And I
Okay,
think, Kara, that's
uh-huh,
that's the one thing I think, and I know we're time wise, but I think that's the one thing that a lot of people that stops them from fostering. I have heard more
yeah,
people do not, and this is the number one thing they say, oh, I could never foster because I could never give up the animal. And I
mhm,
try to tell them, well, but you know what? We need fosters so badly right now. Right now,
right now
we,
especially.
we are in critical times right now where we need fosters. And you're right. It's you got to let that heart break a little bit so that you can, fulfill a dog's
Yeah.
life. So
Yeah, you know what? I want to keep these things positive, but I'll say that
yeah,
if you are hesitating about being able to give a dog up and how that's going to hurt a little bit, go with me to a shelter in Georgia. I'm going there in 2 weeks, or Tennessee, or Mississippi. We're going to be in all those places, and there are plenty of dogs that are never getting out, not alive. So it's a small sacrifice in the big scheme of things. So introduce to us who you got there, and
here,
I'm
yeah,
going to make
another
sure
good
we
question.
put. Go ahead,
This
tell
is
us who they are.
this this is Maui. He's my temporary foster. And Ellie is the one who keeps popping her head in, and actually, I think she's blocking the whole screen because she's kind of a photo girl. But yeah, so Maui is my
Cute.
temporary foster care. Sorry, this is not the best of pictures. And Ellie is my girl. But anyway,
Hey,
so Maui is
buddy.
about 6 months, 7 months old, and yeah, cute
He's
as could be.
adorable. So is he adoptable?
He is right now he's in foster care, Kara, and we
Mhm.
always give the good thing I will say about fostering, as I'm sure many people already know, is that one of the things is that you usually have, or you always have the right, the first I don't want to say right, but you
Mhm.
can choose to adopt this dog.
Yeah, you have
And
first dibs.
yeah, first tips. And I think that this family is going to adopt Maui, but we're not sure yet. He's got to go through his neuter surgery and just make sure that everything is okay. But I think that they are leaning to adopt him. So once we figure that out, we'll know a little bit more. But yeah,
Yeah, that's one way to get a dog. It's how we started. We
yeah.
fostered planning to find our dog, and we did. We found multiples of our dogs. But we still continue to foster. I've got 3 of them right now. Okay, so I'm going to put information about those organizations that you mentioned in our notes for this
Great.
it's a YouTube video for our video. So if people want to look them up and find out, if you're looking for a golden retriever or you want to learn more about it, you can reach out to that rescue. And thanks so much, Karen, for doing this and for what you're doing and taking on some of the challenges, especially some of the really hard challenges of
Oh, Kara,
fostering.
well, I know you are doing amazing work as well. And again, my whole message to people is really, if you can open your house to foster, we so need them, because we, even at Grace, we're turning
Yeah,
dogs away left and right.
yeah,
So,
it's
and
everywhere. It's
yeah,
all
I mean, we're not the only ones saying that. I see that with every rescue that I'm, kind of following and involved with, and I know you see the same, Kara. So
Yeah, it's all over.
please,
I've just yesterday because I have my Google search on animal shelter at capacity, and it's oh my gosh, the number of hits I get every day. And yesterday I saw there were shelters in Alaska that were struggling, and I was like, whoa, it's
I'm
everywhere.
so
So it's
sorry.
everywhere, and fostering can make a difference, and that's why we started this Foster Tales series, is to showcase some fosters, to try to encourage you to consider fostering, because it is a way to save a life. And right now in our current crisis in the shelters all over this country, they are overwhelmed, and there's not a lot that can be done in the immediate moment to solve the problem except fostering. If
Right.
fosters would step up, if people would try it, just try it for a little while, it would give shelters the breathing room to try to get back to a normal. I don't want to say a new normal, to get back to where we were pre-pandemic, when we were on the road, I felt, to solving the crisis in this country. And now we have been set back far. Everybody's overwhelmed. And the one thing that can make a difference is fostering, and you can save a life too. So
Yeah.
thanks, everyone. Tune in again. We'll have more heroes to introduce you to in the coming weeks.